I'm upright. Woohoo! It's the Ides of October, and I'm finally getting back to this. Will I finish it for Halloween? Not likely, but at least I'm going to make a little progress. I did come up with a name for the railroad. I don't know if you can see all that. Western Highlands Railroad. There we go. Nice poetic name. So, I'm going to start by doing all of the station and trying to get that done today on a nice chilly fall day. And once I get through this, then it should be a simple matter of doing the rest. I keep saying simple matter, and it's never a simple matter, but let's get going. Okay, it's slow going, but we're coming along. I just put the Marks connector in, so that's set. What I realized is that because these are all plastic now, they're not metal, the outer rails are not going to transfer power from one to the other. So I created a jumper out of aluminum, and I just need to insert that into the slots in the track on either side here. And this is low enough where it's not going to short here. So that'll connect this to this, which will give continuity all the way around, so that no matter which neutral wheel is on here, it'll have ground. Yeah, so let me do that and then just screw these down and move on to the next section, and I think that's going to be it for today. Yeah, finally making progress. All right, the little bracket's in, the bracket the jumper's in, got all this set, and all the way down to the end of the station I have half of it done. I just have to do the inner section next. And I'm finding it's really weird. The original Menards ties here, I guess it's not great quality control, because some of these are really crimped tightly and it's really hard to pry them off. Others almost fall off because the crimping didn't really take, and so they're pretty loose. So some are good, some are bad, but at least they're all going to be equally good or bad. We'll find out once we get all this together. And notice these are a little angled. When I put the screw in first, it twisted a little bit and it locked it in, so I don't mind that. That's keeping these really sturdy. I'm only hoping it doesn't subtly change the gauge on this to make it a little narrower or wider. I don't think it does, because all the track is mating up just fine where it comes together here. So I'm assuming, well, no, that doesn't make any sense, Jay, because, you know, they're all the same. So, but it made it up fine over at that end. But again, it doesn't matter. The only way I could find out is by putting it here and seeing if this is the same, and by golly, it's the same. So I'm going to say, yeah, it's perfect. It's going to work out fine. Of course it is, Jay, because everything works out fine. Notice that these are all still nice and shiny, like I said in the last video. Really impressed with the no-ox. There's no rust, except the some of the steel ties started rusting a little bit on the underside because I didn't put no-ox underneath. But other than that, the track itself is beautiful. I mean, it looks just like I pulled it out of the box. It's a little bit greasy when you touch it, a little bit tacky. Supposedly that's good for the trains because it helps conduct the electricity onto the wheels better, and it gives it a little more grip. So we'll eventually see, hopefully this year. So this took me about an hour and a half just to do that half section there. What do you think? Maybe like 2 weeks to do all that? I don't know. Hope the weather holds out. It's been beautiful fall weather. So we will see. I have a familiar. Right on time for Halloween. Hi there. Giving me encouragement here. The station is completely done. So all the new ties are in. It's looking good. And I think this is going pretty smooth. I think I'm going to be able to go ahead and do this curve today on another beautiful fall day. A little help from my friend there. And that should do it for today. And then I'll be able to start the long straight run. All right, we're coming along. And this is working out well. These are really tight, which is good. What I'm doing is I'm actually bending all these pins slightly before I put the track on. And that's keeping it nice and tight in there, so I'm hoping that's going to make good contact. And what I'm finding is these are really very, very different on each tie. The ties are sometimes almost ready to fall off when I go to take them off. They really weren't crimped properly. Others are crimped so tightly it's actually crushing part of the rail. So I don't know what machine they have doing this when they put these together, but it's really just all over the map as to how I'm going to find them. Some of them I have real hard time getting off. Others almost fall off. So, but anyway, it's coming along. I've only got that amount to do today, and then I'm done. And getting a lot of help here. Well, I have to wrap it up for today. So close, but I have places to go. You notice this ended up going across here again, which I had fixed that before, and I don't know why. I think I kept this too tight against here. I think I need to move all this up a little bit so that this curve will go that way, or maybe I can get a different piece of track to put on there, but yeah, so this is hanging way off, and I need to fix that. Other than that, this is about ready to go. So 3 more pieces, and this will be done and ready for the straight run down there. So, and I'm sure my friend will be glad when it's all done. Day 3 of progress, and the curve is done. Now, finding an interesting problem here. I got myself a stool, by the way, so I'm not killing my back. Coming up a little bit short by about 1 inch. And that might not bode well for the rest of the course. I might end up having to stick another 10-inch track after all said and done. But this one here is about in the right spot, but you can see here's where the other tie was, and here's where this tie is. Although this could have been the early tie when it was running way off. I can't remember. But no, there it is right there. So yeah, this one's about 1 inch off as well. So the track is shrinking as I'm redoing it. Don't exactly know why, but I'm sure there's a reasonable physical explanation for what's going on. At any rate, I'm going to continue. Now it's all the straightaway, all the way down to the tree stump over there. So let's see how much of that I can get done on this gorgeous fall day. Well, I've almost made it to the first tree here. It takes a lot longer than I thought it would. But yeah, it's coming along. It goes together pretty nicely. I'm finding that the best way to do it is with the straight track is I take off the first old tie, put on the new one, take off the second one, put on another one, slide it down, take off the third one, and then I simply push the track into place into the pins, then take off the last 2 and put the last ties on. And that seems to be keeping things together pretty well. So, got a ways to go here, but I'm doing it little by little. So if I can get, what is that? About 8 feet. If I can get 8 feet of track done a day, I should have it done in a couple weeks. So maybe we'll have a Halloween train after all. Well, hot doggy. And I mean hot. It's about 80 degrees. Indian summer has hit, which I don't mind. Just a surprise. But I'm at the stump, the first stump, all the way down to here. So that's good. This I'm curious about. I have 3 10-inch pieces of track, which equals 30 inches, which is how long a straight piece is, a 30-inch straight piece. So I don't know why I did 3 10-inch pieces instead of 1 30-inch piece. And I think it was trying to get around, make sure I got around this stump, just bend them a little bit, almost like a small curved track. But I'm going to get rid of that. I'm just going to put a straight piece there. I'm just going to take my axe and just hack away at this a little bit, make sure there's enough of a concave surface there so that I won't have any collisions with the train. I don't think there will anyway, but just in case. Yeah, but slow progress. I'm glad the weather's holding up, and I have been so tempted to hook this up and try it out and see if it runs in its current state. But of course, the first rain, it would all come to a grinding halt anyway, so I'm just going to go ahead and finish this up. So I'm about a quarter of the way there. Actually, yeah, about a quarter of the way before I finish the rest of it. So I have a spare piece of 30-inch track that I was playing with, trying out different insulators in the basement. So I'm going to go and get that all prepped ahead of time, and I can just bring it up here and pop it in. So that will take care of that. And then we'll start on the first curve section here, going around the stump. Right, the next turn is done. And I actually ended up gutting this whole thing and redoing it with new track. And the reason I did that is because for some reason, like this section right here, I don't know why, but I had put 3 10-inch pieces when I could have used a 30-inch piece. Maybe I was afraid of running out of 30-inch pieces. I don't know. But I just replaced that with a 30-inch piece, a new 30-inch piece. And then all this curve, I completely redid. I rethought how to do that. And it worked out pretty well. And as you can see, I'm much more accurate now on this stretch of track. Before there was a gap of about 2 inches. 2 inches? I'm a little tired. 2 inches. And now it's pretty much matching up. So I'm happy with that. Yeah, so then I've got the straight run here, and then this curve, and then on to the finish line. I just wanted to give a demonstration, a quick one of how I'm doing this. This I found is the quickest way to get this done. You notice I bent these pins already, and rather than try to have this all assembled and crunch it in there, have a whole track piece here assembled and crunch it in there, which doesn't really work because it's bent. I just take them all apart like I explained in a previous video, and then when I put them in, it doesn't really matter which direction they go. They slide in pretty easily, and I'm not really concerned about the direction they're pointing. I want them pointing in different directions because then when I clamp them all together with these things, it squeezes them and it makes really good contact there. I'm holding the camera with one hand, so I can't demonstrate putting this together, but basically I just slide, I align these and slide them on and down and slide the next one on and down, and that seems to work much smoother than trying to keep all this set, pull one out and then try to put it in and then pry them all out while they're all attached to the previous track. So that's how I'm going right now, and it's moving right along. All right, it's October 23rd, and appropriately, I'm 2/3 done. All that done, all the way up to here. And I just got to do around the corner here. Then I got the straightaway, which is not going to be a problem. Uh-oh, they're coming after me. It's not going to be... Oh, ambulance. Hope they're not coming after me. that's going to be easy all the way down there, and then it's just single track around the corner. So I will have this done for Halloween. Gosh dang, bust it one way or another. So onward to the next section. So just for ha-has, I took one of the track sections that had been outside. It's a little 10-inch piece with the old insulators on them. And for the heck of it, I just decided, let me see if this is actually shorted out. So if I take this and I put it on the center rail, then you can see, yeah, there's definitely a connection there. But then if I put it over here on the outer rail, we're fine. There's no short. And if I move it to this one, no short. So, were the insulators okay? Anyway, I mean, was my enormous amount of effort all for nothing? Well, I don't know. And it could have been maybe just one or two insulators that were a problem. It could have been anything. But at least I know now, with all the new ties, that there can be no short. It's impossible. So, back to work. That's all I have left to do. I actually would have gotten further today, but my drill ran out of battery power, and my spare battery is still charging, so I basically had to stop. But that's it. I've only got this section to go. The straight run here will take me probably about less than an hour, and then that will probably take me about an hour, and then we can test it. And it looks like, yes, we'll be ready for Halloween after all. What I did is I took that same piece of 10-inch track and I submersed it in about 3 inches of water for about 2 hours, just to see if when these get wet, they short out. And when I connect to the center rail, obviously I get connection, but when I connect to any of the outer rails, nothing. So that tells me that the insulators really are not the problem. These insulators tend to hold up when they get wet. I should have done this from the beginning. I should have checked with this experiment, just taken a piece of track, submersed it for a day, and then gone ahead and tested it. You know, since these are old insulators anyway, they should have shorted more quickly being submersed like that for that length of time. But they're not. They're not shorting out at all. So it's not the insulators and it's not the ties. So what that tells me is that there is simply one or more pieces of track that were incorrectly assembled that are shorting all by themselves, and that of course would short the whole system. So what I could have done, it's a little late now in the game, but what I could have done is I could have taken apart every section of track and tested it individually until I found something that shorted. By doing that, I could have just replaced that piece of track and then I would have been good. But like usual, I jumped to conclusions and assumed the whole thing was shorting out because of those insulators. And that turns out to be not the case. So in that instance, the Menards track is a whopping good deal. For about $1 a foot, you know, or $3 a foot for the big curve track, you can have an outdoor garden railway really inexpensively. You need to be careful of these pins though, because I've been finding a lot of these pins are really loose and they just fall out. So you got to get that crimper and crimp them to make sure they hold well. But other than that, it looks like they're fine. I put a little no-ox on them and you're good to go. But since I've come this far, 3/4 of the way through, I'm going to head and finish the whole thing. I'm gonna go ahead and finish the whole thing, and that way I know it will never short. But it was a lot of work apparently for very little gain. All right, made it to the turnaround. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on this end, and I'm going to go all the way this way. And I notice there's a 10-inch piece of track there. And the 10-inch piece of track, I think I can cut a piece that's a little bit longer than that to make up for the little gaps that I've got in the track so far. And then when I come around this way, it should all match up fine. Fingers crossed. What I did notice is the screws I got on eBay, 500 of them. Well, turns out the heads are beveled, and when they go into the plastic ties, they split them in half. Not a good thing. So I have to go back to my little hardware store and get the other regular machine screws that do not have the bevel on them. That way, those would work in fine. So I'll have to do that. So hopefully, another day, 2 at the max, and this will be done. And we're on October 27th, so yeah, it's gonna be done for Halloween. Yeehaw! It's bright and early in the morning, and I had an idea. Since I discovered that the insulators were not in fact shorting out, I figured maybe I could save myself a little work, or a lot of work, and not have to replace this entire circle because it's so nicely laid out. So I decided to come out here with the multimeter and check, and lo and behold, there's no short in this track. I checked both sides, and indeed, you know, on both sides, there is no short. I go here, you can see it actually is showing the connection. So that means that I know with this gap that from here all the way around we have no short. Now my trick is, how do I get these connected back up? Because I've got about 3 inches here and 2 inches there that I've got them made up. So that actually shouldn't be too much of a big deal. What I'm going to do is, I looked at this, and I could take a 72 here, and if I put the 72, it would basically cover that 2-inch gap right here. Now what that means is I'm going to have to upend this whole thing and shift it a little bit all the way around, but that should make this mate back up. So as you can see, it does fit. This is a 54 piece right here. So if I get the 72 radius and the 54 radius, that'll shift everything 2 inches this way, which could be a problem or maybe not, but we'll see. So at any rate, I should be able to connect everything back up and test it out possibly later on today. Okay, well, I decided to check out running the little battery cars on the track just to make sure everything works. It was an ominous sign. I used a little car first, and it started running and it just fell off the track. I put it back on, then it fell off the track a little further down. It kept falling off the track. Finally, it fell off and it hit a stone and it cracked its wheel, so it no longer runs. So this one has a bit more heft to it, so I'm hoping maybe that'll help. But if this one falls off the track, then that means that And I mean, the other one was falling off the track. I kept putting it back on as long as I could before it cracked its wheel, and it just kept repeatedly falling off the track. So that's not a good sign, and it was always falling off where the track joins up. So let's keep our fingers crossed and see what happens here. Yeah, that wasn't good. Well, no damage yet. So this section isn't good. All right, let's, I can't do this with one hand tied behind my back. Let's see. All right, that's on. Let's see what happens now. Yeah, that's not good. Now, remember early in a video I said that this whole thing was sort of leaning to the side, so that might have something to do with it, but it didn't affect it before. Why is it affecting it now? I have a suspicion, I can really feel it tilting there. I have a sneaking suspicion that these ties are just high enough to interfere with the wheels running on there. Let's see. Okay. Whoop, see how tilted that is? That's not good. Is it gonna straighten out? There, now it's straightened out. All right. And it falls off again. Okay. So this is looking pretty terrible. Yeah, and it fell off again. All right. And it fell off again, and it's always at the track joints. Which is weird because the track joints look fine. They look like they're matching up, but obviously something is not working. Yep, there we go again. I think the only other alternative would be to get an actual engine and see if the weight of the engine keeps it. Yeah, and that's dead there. So this is, yeah, it jumped the track again. This is not good. No, that's not good. There we go, that's sort of good. And it falls off again. Well, that's interesting. That's interesting. It's not... There we go. That was difficult trying to get it to get on the track. And it's still not running. That's weird. It's on. There we go. And it came off again. So it looks like this is a complete failure. So maybe it isn't even worth it to put the whole thing back together, because if this isn't running, and remember in an earlier video I ran the entire circuit with this and it ran perfectly. So if this can't make it around once, that means that yeah, this ain't gonna work. And I am in deep doo-doo again. All right, back to the old drawing board. All right, breaking out the heavy equipment here. This is my dummy EMDF locomotive, because when I got them, there were two of them. One has the motor in it, one does not have the motor, but they're both equally heavy. So what I'm going to try to do with this is just push it along and see if it falls off. Now I can already see this is tilting, and I think the problem, if I go under here, when I put, I don't know if you can see that under there, when I put the L-trim on, I put it in the space inside here. I think if I drill that out and then put it on here, which is a little higher, it'll lift this whole thing up a bit, and that would solve the problem with the tilting. So I'll probably have to do that before I run anything on here. But anyway, let's see if I push it. Yeah, you can definitely see it tilt. It's not falling off yet. If it falls off, I wasn't planning on using this locomotive anyway, so if it falls off and breaks, well, I'm out, what, 10 bucks. Whoa, that was close. Again, you can see how ridiculously tilted it is. Yeah, it's not, doesn't seem to encounter the problems the other one did. The little truck. So maybe it will work once I straighten it out. All right, so now from here on out, ooh, that wasn't good. Yeah, it came off the track. You can definitely see that there. So that's not good. All right, let's try this again. Let's see if it comes off the track again. Yep, came off the track again. So this is not looking good at all. And the back is off the track as well. Oh boy. There we go. Yep. Whoa, that was a close one. All right. Important safety tip. This track sucks. So the problem must be in my ties, not the drink. Must be in the ties I made, and it's just the track is not going together properly because we didn't have this problem before. I don't know. I'll have to do some thinking. Right, so where does that leave me now? Well, it leaves me with a non-functioning track. Pretty birds, but non-functioning track. So there's no going back now. I can't fix the problem I created because I can't put the old ties back on. And the only other option that I see is to go ahead and buy a whole new set of track, but either do it with the outdoor O-gauge track, the stainless steel, or invest in G-gauge and do it right. And I'm tempted to do G-gauge simply because you can get the flex track, and the flex track I will have no trouble conforming to this layout. I obviously have to fix the problem with the tilt here. That's not going to be fixed by any type of track. So I got to fix that first, and I can do that in the next couple days. But it is impossible to get this thing running by Halloween, unfortunately. So I failed in my mission to get this thing going this year. Now, if you remember, I started this off almost 4 years ago when I put in the green energy system in the shed, because the whole idea behind the green energy system was to power the garden railroad. So that's really when the project started, and this started in earnest over a year ago, trying to put this whole system together. So I really like the
structure that I built for it. I think the structure works out really well. It was a nice, inexpensive way to do that in a durable way. But yeah, it's got little problems I ran into. So the Menards track is not crap like I thought it was. These insulators do hold up in the weather, which is good. And so if you're doing O gauge, then yeah, it's a reasonable way to do it. Unfortunately, I've pretty much blown the budget. Now I could tear all this out from here back and get all new Menards track and put it all in. I'm not going to go that route. If I'm going to do it again, I'm going to do it right, rather than have to coat the whole thing with no-ox again and all that. So I'm going to look at my options, and once I figure out what I'm going to do, then I'll get back to you. But for now, this is in a sort of holding pattern. So stay tuned for the next installment, when I'll have, obviously, a different direction.